I'm Mrs. Fales, and I'm continuing Chapter 12. Things were a lot better when AJ, Garth, and I returned to room 26. No rubber bands flew through the air. Garth didn't trip anybody or make fun of anybody. That meant Gail didn't get in trouble for giggling. Heidi didn't get in trouble for speaking out without raising her hand because she wasn't trying to tell Mrs. Brisbane what Garth had done. But the best change was Saya, who did raise her hand every single day. One day she raised her hand to volunteer to stay in during recess to clean the chalkboard. Miranda raised her hand too. Mrs. Brisbane chose both of them. Girls, I think I can trust you to stay here while I run this report down to the principal's office, Mrs. Brisbane told them. Of course she could trust them. Once the girls were alone, they began to talk. I really like your singing, Miranda told Saya. Thanks. My mom and I are going to a musical version of Cinderella over at the college this weekend, Miranda continued. We have an extra ticket. Would you like to come with us? My mom will pick you up. Saya quickly turned to face Miranda. Oh, yes, I have not been to a play before. Miranda grinned. Good, I'll have my mom call your mom. Suddenly, Saya's face fell. Oh, better not. She's so busy. Give me your number, and I'll have my father call your mother. Saya watched Miranda's reaction carefully. So did I. Cool. That was it. Miranda jotted down her number. Saya looked greatly relieved. I knew that Miranda's mother didn't care how well Saya's mother spoke English. Maybe now Saya would figure that out too. Another great thing that happened was that Mrs. Brisbane started reading a book aloud to the class. Sometimes I doze right through these sessions, but this time she picked out a really good book. When she announced that it was about a mouse, Gail giggled. What did she say? Art whispered to Richie. Pay attention, Art, Mrs. Brisbane said. It's about a mouse. Several of the boys groaned. Baby stuff, one of them muttered. We'll see, Mrs. Brisbane told them, and she started to read, and oh, what a tale it was. All about mice, no bigger than I am, who were great warriors, and I was longing to put on some armor myself by the time she stopped reading. Continued tomorrow, she announced as she stuck a bookmark in place and closed the book. Tomorrow? That woman truly has a mean streak. She's proved it again and again. I would have sneaked out of my cage at night to finish the book, but she's so mean she stuck it in her desk drawer. The one she locks with a key. Grrr. The weekend came around quickly, though, and I went home with Richie. I'm still not quite sure how many people actually live at the Rinaldi's house because there were always so many people coming and going. Aunts, uncles, cousins, grandparents, neighbors. One meal seemed to flow right into the next, and Richie's mom was very generous with treats. I'll tell you one thing. You could never be lonely or hungry at the Rinaldi's house. On Sunday afternoon, guess who showed up? Remember Richie's uncle? That's right, Aldo Amato. This time, my buddy Aldo was not lonely because he brought his girlfriend along, Maria, to meet the family. She was a very nice lady who wore her long hair piled up high on her head. She was dressed in bright red from head to toe, red earrings, red sweater, red skirt, and red shoes. I think red is a very happy color. I think Maria is also a very happy person, especially when she's with Aldo. All the Rinaldis made a big fuss over Maria and praised the bread and cookies she brought them from the bakery where she worked. After the commotion of their arrival died down, I heard Aldo tell Maria, now there's someone really important I want you to meet. And he introduced her to me. Believe it or not, Humphrey is one of my best friends, he told her. And he was the very first friend I told you about. Then I'm honored to meet you, Humphrey, Maria said, smiling down at me. The pleasure is all mine, I squeaked. See, he likes you, said Aldo. And indeed I did. The world seemed like a pretty nice place for a handsome young hamster like me, I can tell you. I was sitting on top of the world when I returned to room 26 on Monday, but I just toppled off when Mrs. Brisbane made an alarming announcement. Class, as you know, this will be a short week due to Thanksgiving, she said, and that means Humphrey will need a home for 4 days instead of 2. Who wants to volunteer? You won't believe it when I'm going to say not one hand went up. I actually fell off my wheel. Mrs. Brisbane was surprised too. No one, she asked. Heidi, didn't you want to take Humphrey home? Oh yes, but we're going to my grandma's for Thanksgiving, she explained. Art, didn't you ask for Humphrey last week, Mrs. Brisbane asked. Yes, but we are having all my relatives for Thanksgiving, and Mom said it wouldn't be a good time, Art explained. And so it went. Every single classmate had big plans for Thanksgiving. Plans that didn't include having an extra hamster around. I was worried. I didn't want to spend 4 days alone in room 26. I worried all day Monday. I worried all day Tuesday. I worried even more all day Wednesday. At the end of the day, Principal Morales stopped by to give Mrs. Brisbane an envelope. I think it was her paycheck because she was especially glad to see him. I have a huge favor to ask, she said. Sure, Sue, what is it? Asked Principal Morales. He wore a tie with little turkeys all over it. Could you possibly take Humphrey for the weekend? I had my paws crossed that he'd say yes, but Principal Morales didn't even smile. Oh, Sue, I'd love to, but we're going out of town for the holiday, he told her. Another time I'd love to. Another time wouldn't matter. I needed a place to go now. After the principal left, Mrs. Brisbane sighed and began gathering up her papers. Then she turned to me. Well, Humphrey, it looks like you're going home with me for Thanksgiving, she said grimly. My fate was sealed. I was going to the home of the woman who had vowed to get rid of me for 4 whole days. And frankly, I was worried I'd never come back. Tip 12. If you must leave your hamster with a caretaker, make sure that it is someone you know and trust. Guide to the Care and Feeding of Hamsters, Dr. Harvey H. Hammer. Have a great summer.